Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over our learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to utilize sequences and discover how sequences approach limits, how to use spreadsheets to perform mathematical sequences, and how to determine the origins of the number e. How are we learning it? Through the number sequences approaching e notes and the number sequences approaching e assignment. When can we use this? To use spreadsheets to calculate mathematical applications such as creating and maintaining a budget and calculating the point totals for sports tournaments, and to determine how we can use number sequences to calculate potential growth in your business. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the number sequences approaching E assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over our learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. Next, we'll do our weekly raffle. After that, we'll go over the number sequences approaching E notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the number sequences approaching E assignment on Desmos. Once you've completed the assignment on Desmos, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the Reasoning with Irrational Numbers study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the number sequences approaching E notes. Our notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. First, what is a number sequence? A number sequence is a list of numbers that are linked by a rule. All numbers in the sequence must follow the same pattern. So for instance, if I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could continue that pattern without me actually giving you the next numbers. You could continue that on because there's a given sequence. So all the numbers in the sequence follow the same pattern. These patterns can continue on infinitely, but the rule will never change. So we could keep going and going and going, and it'll keep going, but it won't change the rule. Now, how do we do activity 2D1 part A? So the first part says, consider the sequence of numbers a sub n, whose terms are given by a sub n equals 1 plus 1 over n to the n power. So, in this case, we're told what numbers to start with. So we have n being 2. So we plug 2 in for both places. And we can see then that 1 plus 1 half is 3 halves to the second power. So 3 to the second power is 9, and 2 to the second power is 4, so we should get 9 over 4 is our answer for this one. And we could continue to solve this, and when we do that, we should notice that these numbers start to look like this. Now, what pattern do we notice? Well, we should notice that we started out and we're making 0.03 jump, now we're making 0.1 jump, then we're making a 0.1 jump again and we're getting, each time our jump is getting smaller and smaller. So that means we're approaching some kind of number. So we are approaching some kind of limit at some point. So then there's a certain number that our number sequence is approaching. We don't know what it is yet, but there's some number that we're getting really close to. Here's a video that shows how you can use a spreadsheet to help you solve this sequence and figure out what number we are approaching. Let's talk now about how to fill in the number sequences approaching E spreadsheet. Now, the nice thing about this spreadsheet is most of the hard work has been done for you. So in this case, we have our n value here, and we want to find the sum and then a sub n. This is what we're ultimately trying to find, is a sub n. Now, all you need to do is this. This formula is already placed here, so you're going to go to this box here and you're going to copy this one. So I'm going to copy this. So I right click and hit copy, and I'm going to go here and put equals, and then I'm going to paste it. So right click and click paste, and notice it places that exact formula right here, and I click enter. It asks if I want to do the suggested autofill. I'm going to click the check mark. And notice now it filled in all the boxes for me. So I can see exactly what this function is doing as it approaches infinity, right? As it goes from 0 all the way to 200 in this case. Then I'm going to go back and I want to know what a sub n is. This is what I actually want to know. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to right click and copy it. And I'm going to go here and put equals, and I'm going to paste it. And notice it places the formula there. I hit enter, and notice it autofills and makes that 2. And I'm going to go here and hit the check mark to autofill the rest of them. And notice now I can see exactly what this function is doing. As it gets bigger and bigger, it's approaching 2.71, somewhere in there. And I can keep this going. I could make this 1,000. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it. I'm going to copy this and paste it. And notice again, I can see how this is continuing to trend as we go through. So that's how you do the first part of your spreadsheet. Let's look at another example. So now we are considering the sequence of numbers s sub n, which means we're calculating a sum, whose terms are given by s sub n is equal to the sum as k goes from 0 to n of 1 over k factorial, where that's equal to 1 over 0 factorial plus 1 over 1 factorial plus 1 over 2 factorial. So what you're going to do is you're going to enter this one into your spreadsheet as well and solve, and as we do that, you should notice that the pattern starts to look like this. And we should notice that we're approaching some number around 2.71, and as you continue this on, the numbers are going to continue to get closer and closer to that value. And it's very similar to the number that we were just looking at on part A. So what do we notice? Again, the values are approaching some number. The change is getting smaller and smaller and smaller each time. So that means we're getting closer and closer to some number. Here's a video as well that shows you how to enter these values into a spreadsheet so that you can check and see what number this sequence is approaching. Let's talk now about how to complete the number sequences approaching E spreadsheet. This is the second tab, so this would be for group B. And the nice thing is the formulas are already given to you. Now notice the 0 row is already filled in, so we're going to begin this at row 1. So we're going to do the same thing like we did on the previous one. So we're going to copy this. So I'm going to right click and copy it. And I'm going to go here and put equals, and then I'm going to paste it here. And then I hit enter. It asks if I want to autofill. I'm going to click the check mark to say yes, I would like to autofill. And notice as we get lower and lower, our numbers get closer and closer to 0. Now here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to copy this, and I'm going to put equals, and I'm going to paste it here. Right click and click paste. It asks if I want to autofill this one. I click yes. And notice now, again, my numbers are getting closer and closer. As I get to 270, okay, the numbers just become insignificant. That's why it does that. But as you can see, as the numbers get bigger and bigger, we get closer and closer to 2.718. So you'll use this table to fill in your Desmos activity. Now, how do we recognize n behavior? Using a graph or a table, we can see that as the values for n get larger, the resulting value from the number sequence can do one of these things. So basically what this is saying is, as we continue these sequences, one of 3 things is going to happen. We're either going to keep going to infinity. So an example of this would be 2 to the n. So as n gets bigger, 2 is going to continue to expand and expand and expand and expand, and it's going to continue out towards infinity. So it's going to get extremely large, and it's never going to stop getting larger. We could go to negative infinity, which means we're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and the gap is going to continue to grow, and we're going to get small, small, small forever. Lastly, we could approach some value. For instance, 1 over n. The smaller n gets, the closer we get to some number, which in this case is 0. Because 1 over 1,000 is close to 0. 1 over 10,000 is even closer to 0. So the numbers are getting closer and closer and closer to 0 as we go. So these are different ways we can recognize n behavior. Let's talk now about how to sign in to Desmos to complete your work. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on the link to go to the assignment, and it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. And right here where it says sign in with Google, we're going to click there. It's going to pop up with our email accounts. You're going to click on your school email account, and it should already have you logged in because you should have already been logged in using Google Classroom. From there, I'm just going to click start the activity, and it will take me into the assignment and allow me to begin. So that's how you will log into Desmos using Google. Let's take a look now at the number sequences approaching E assignment. The assignment begins with our learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here to take us to the Desmos assignment. Go ahead and click on that link, and it takes us to a page that looks like this. We'll go ahead and click start the activity. The activity begins with the learning goals and success criteria. We'll go ahead and click next. And we're asked to fill in the table for this sequence here. Now, to solve this, you're going to use your spreadsheet that is given to you. So you'll go ahead and fill out the spreadsheet and then copy your answers into this table. So we'll go all the way from 2 to 300. So you'll go ahead and answer those and see what they approach. So you'll go ahead and copy those answers into this table. If you need help with how to use the spreadsheets, make sure you go through your notes. There's a video showing you how to use the spreadsheet in your notes. And then we'll click next. And now we're going to convert this to a graph. So you'll enter them again here into this graph. So you'll enter those in and then click next. And then we're going to take a look. Our graph will be here. So let's go ahead and go back. And if I were to say that this was 4 and this was 5, or sorry, and this was 6 and this was 17. So that's what it looks like there. And then when I click next, my graph will appear here. And it says, what is the end behavior of the graph? Meaning, what is the graph approaching? So I should say something like the graph is approaching the value of 2.17. So that's the end behavior of the graph. So what is the graph doing as it gets really close to something? So that's what we'll do there. And then we'll go ahead and click next. And we'll do this again for sequence 2. So you'll go ahead and enter that in using the spreadsheet as well. So you'll copy those answers in and then copy them again here into the graph. And then you'll have your table here and your graph down here, and you're going to state the end behavior of that graph. So what is it approaching as it goes on? And then the last one is drawing conclusions. So you'll have your tables here, your graphs here, and it says compare your solutions, analyze the common characteristics and differences between the two tables, and summarize how are they similar. So you'll go ahead and answer those questions. When you're done, you'll go back to your Google form and click next. This will take you to your before you go. Go ahead and fill out your before you go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.